Well, there are two things. One is that, in fact, production is in fact falling. So natural gas production is in fact falling. We are a gas economy rather than an oil economy. So everybody keep watching the oil price, but that's not the price to watch. We need to look at gas prices. But gas production is falling. We are now down to 3.8 BCF, which is low. This country is supposed to consume at about 4 BCF. We are now 3.8. Our oil production is now down to 78,000 barrels a day, so it's continuously falling. The thing about the oil and gas industry is that the oil and gas companies have to continually invest in production. It's like a treadmill. You have to continually invest to keep production in the same place. And we have not been doing that. And the fact of the matter is, therefore, that production has been falling. The other thing that has affected revenues this year is that the government had to agree to a particular incentive for Pt.3 to be able to continue with its program on the Juniper field, and that has resulted in a situation where there has been an even bigger fall in revenue this year. So that doesn't matter where the price of oil goes this year. It really doesn't.
Right.
The revenues are going to be what they are. And I would say to you, I would say to the population, that we should stop this thing about monitoring the price of oil up and down 2 cents and so on. From where it is now, I am very sure it's going to go down. And from where it is now, I'm very sure it's going to go up. So, but at these levels, whether it is 45, 55, 65, whatever it is, and so on, this economy has a problem.
Yes.
And we have to confront the problem, and we have to deal with it. And that's what I would say. I think we need to make sure that we don't be watching the price of oil, willing it to go up so that we could continue going back to the same old freeness and fat and wastage of resources that we have done in the past.
This new normal is your normal. It's not just new normal. What obtains here right now? Let's treat this as a long-term thing without expecting a return to paradise, as it were.
That's what the governor said, and I think he's absolutely right. Because you see, one of the things that we have to bear in mind here as well with the oil and gas situation is that if you go out to 2025 and 2030, with the Paris Accord on climate change and the commitment that countries have signed up to reduce the use of hydrocarbons, it means that the long-term prospects for fossil fuels, particularly crude oil, less so natural gas, is going to, that's correct. And therefore, do not expect to see prices going back up, even in nominal dollars, to $100 and those kinds of levels. I don't think we are going to see
$100 deja vu will not see you. It's 5 minutes after 11 o'clock. I've got 5 minutes remaining with Dr. Farrell, and I just want to go into two areas here. The Prime Minister, in keeping with what we're talking about, speaking to the manufacturing sector, said that he would just ask them that they look at some of the initiatives taken by the government to open markets in Latin America. He believes they're not taking sufficient advantage of that. And he also said that a lot of the products that were created by them 10 years ago, they're still making and exporting the same products. Yes. If you're diversifying, you've got to update, is what he's saying. Is our manufacturing sector, from your perch, indeed trying to update, to modify, to do things that make them more profitable, one, with the traditional markets, and are they being creative sufficient to go into markets where governments have made clear the path, but nothing is happening, nobody's trading them?
No, I think that the guys who are exporting, and there are not that many of them, quite frankly, are in fact competitive, and they're exporting. I think, however, that there are some things that we need to do, both from a macroeconomic point of view and from the point of view of the overall climate that we have domestically, that we could encourage more of our manufacturers to get involved in earning foreign exchange. I think far too many of our leading businessmen, leading conglomerates in this country have not turned their minds and their attention to ways in which they can generate foreign exchange. And that's what needs to happen. And I think if that's the message that the Prime Minister was sending, I think it's an absolutely correct message.
Alpha Raymond is standing by. He's coming in 4 minutes right after the doctor. So here is my parting question to you. Maybe I should say penultimate, because every time he says something, I find something else to follow through on. But I'm going to call this my final question here, Dr. Farrell. This area of Venezuela,
yes,
the revolving fund. I inquired of Dr. Winford James, who preceded you, his feeling on that, and he raised the question that many manufacturers have said, are we going into a deal where we will not be paid? All right. So What do you think of this arrangement? I don't know from the outside. Looks like a good deal to me.
I don't know the details, quite frankly. All I would say is that from previous experience with some of these kinds of things back in the 1980s, that one of the things that you need to do is that you need to have an arrangement with perhaps the central banks of both territories, Central Bank of Venezuela and Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago, so that the manufacturers don't find themselves in a position where they are not paid. They're always going to get paid. You can leave the liability with some central agency, whether that is the central bank or the Exim Bank here and the corresponding agencies on the Venezuelan side.
Because it was a president-to-government arrangement, that is the sort of arrangement I was hoping would be in place.
I think that's the arrangement, quite frankly, that ultimately will have to be in place, because I don't see any other arrangement working.
I did say penultimate question. Here is the last one. The report this morning that over $2 billion is owed to the construction sector, construction industry. And my question on this is only as to the fallout we're looking at. A lot of suppliers will not be paid. A lot of unemployment will happen as a consequence of that. Speak to that, please, if you can.
Well, I think, number one, the Minister of Finance is absolutely right. He needs to interrogate the $2 billion and figure out whether it's really $2 billion or $1 billion or $1.5 billion. Right? There are a lot of claims outside there. People are they're talking about these FIDIC contracts and there are all kinds of escalations and variations. We also know that certainly in the last 5 years, a lot of things went on with contracts, and therefore those claims have to be interrogated. But for the valid claims, clearly those monies have to be found, hence the Heritage and Stabilization Fund drawdown. The monies have to be found to be able to pay those contractors, because the consequences of not paying them, I think, are fairly serious.
I may have to call Tyrone, it doesn't matter, because I can't understand he's got such a good business, $50 million in loan. You actually do with that and credit waiting to be paid? You're running a whole multinational company, boy. Did I opine again? Oh, stop it. Dr. Terrence Farrell, Chairman of the Economic Development Advisory Board, also the Chairman of the Cabinet-appointed State Enterprise Review Committee. Your clarity is always appreciated, and I thank you for taking the time to educate us this morning.
You're very welcome.
You have yourself a wonderful day, sir, and please don't close the door on me. Occasionally, I will come knocking.
I'm always happy to help.
I was hoping he would commit to that. Have a good day, sir. Thank you so very much. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.